From my perspective, what I see from having worked with thousands of marketing teams at large scale companies is that they're all super slammed. Candidly, they're all just super busy, super overwhelmed. And the same is true for a lot of the partners and consultants and agencies that they work with. I think there's also a lot of, frankly, inefficiencies in the program due to how busy and siloed everyone is, right? There's a person who's operating the Google channel or the Facebook channel that's super busy and again, can't look for those cross-channel opportunities.
Hi, my name is Dimitri Panici, and I'm a content creator, agency owner, and AI enthusiast. You're listening to the AI Agents Podcast, brought to you by Jotform, and featuring our very own CEO and founder, Ida Tank. This is the show where artificial intelligence meets innovation, productivity, and the tools shaping the future of work. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the AI Agents Podcast. In this episode, we have Tejas Manohar, the co-CEO of Hightouch, a really cool company that's building the AI platform for marketing teams. How are you doing, Tejas?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Dimitri.
It's really good to meet you. Really good to chat about stuff. I love marketing, and I've been wondering how marketing and AI agents are kind of going to come together. So what I'd love to know a little bit more about is to get everyone started is how did you get into AI, right? Pretty cool stuff. Obviously, everyone's talking AI nowadays, AI agents. How'd you get into the industry in general? And then tell us a little bit more about what Hightouch does.
Happy to. So I actually entered AI through the data industry. So my background is in building highly scalable data infrastructure and distributed systems. I used to work at a company in the Bay Area called Segment that was acquired by Twilio for a few $1 billion back in 2020. And I was like a back-end engineer there before starting the company at Hightouch. And so, yeah, I don't come from a research background. One of my co-founders did study machine learning in college, and yeah, I've absorbed some of the information from him and other people we've hired. But I really got fascinated by AI, really when ChatGPT came out, just like a lot of people, and just realized like, holy crap, this is really cool, and I think it's going to change a lot of things, but definitely the way that our customers, which are marketing teams, operate.
And how have you specifically kind of taken, marketing is a broad term, right? So how have you kind of taken the world of marketing and gotten AI agents to work in it? And what kinds of marketing would you say specifically do you think Hightouch excels at the most? I'm just trying to get some broad strokes here, and then we can go into the finer tuned details.
Yeah. So just to give everyone some context on Hightouch, because we're relatively young company. We started the company a little bit over 5 years ago. I'll give some background. Hightouch is fast growing startup. We're about 300 people based here in San Francisco. We serve companies like PetSmart or the NBA, large airlines, hotel chains, companies like Domino's Pizza, which we all know. And what we really started with was this idea that the way marketing teams try to use data today when they want to personalize a campaign that's going out, whether it's like an email or a push notification or a text message or an ad that they're launching on Facebook or Google. It's just really cumbersome. Like a lot of marketers don't have the technical chops to use SQL or Python to like sift through all the data, forget things like data science models, right? And so but companies have a lot of data these days. And so I just noticed every company is putting a ton of data in the cloud, in like Snowflake, Databricks, AWS, Google Cloud, et cetera. But that was disconnected from the way marketing teams operated. And so we built a platform called Hightouch, which is really focused on sitting on top of the data warehouse and making all that data accessible to marketing teams. Now, fast forward a few years later, ChatGPT comes out, and we realize that not just when it comes to bringing technology to marketing teams, like B2C digital marketing teams, why stop at data, right? There's going to be this new technology around generative AI that is going to change everything in how these marketing teams operate. So that's when we decided to create what we now call Hightouch agents, or an AI platform specifically for marketing teams. And you're right, marketing is very broad. It can be brochures, billboards. When I think about marketing, I'm talking about digital marketing, like ads, emails, banners on your website for large, high scale B2C companies.
Okay. Yeah. So, I really like that. I actually have a background in digital marketing to a certain extent. I was a paid media manager for a couple of years before getting into all this kind of stuff. So it's very cool. I guess kind of speak to that group of people. I'm kind of curious, what would be your like sales pitch for marketing agencies or sales pitch to even individual marketing managers and how it's going to change their lives?
Yeah, so this is the AI podcast after all, right? So I'll dive
Yeah,
into our AI product specifically, which is the big
absolutely.
focus. Um, so really what high touch agents is two things. One, we've taken the state of the art AI models. So think about GPT, Anthropic, Gemini, and we've
Absolutely.
made a platform for marketing teams to use with these models that's really purpose built for marketers. So um, when you ask it questions, it knows about things like attribution, it knows how to grade ads, it knows the top two things when you are grading an ad is like efficiency and scale and stuff like that. Two, we bring a bunch of unique context to these AI models that they wouldn't have if you just went to ChatGPT, right? If you go to ChatGPT and you say, "I'm a marketer at Domino's, give me some like offer ideas I can run," it has no context of your customers, how often they're purchasing, what they're buying, whether they need discounts in the past. Do different people respond to different things? But companies have a lot of that one customer data and things like data warehouses. So naturally, since High Touch is connected to the data warehouse of all of these companies, we bring that customer data as context to uh, in our AI platform first and foremost. So you can actually ask it questions about your customers and say, "Hey, who's likely to respond to a site-wide sale email that I send out?" Boom, our AI knows that. The second piece of context that we bring to AI is really all your marketing today. So all the campaigns that you've run on every channel. So we connect to your email marketing tools, your tools that you're using for push notifications, your advertising platforms like Facebook and Google, and pull down all the creative and campaigns and metrics and images and videos and ad spend numbers and all that kind of stuff. So that when AI is suggesting ideas, if you ask it for that, it actually knows what you've tried before and how they
Hmm.
performed. And then lastly, there's a lot of private knowledge that marketing teams have, right? When they work at a company, brand guideline documents, like strategy documents, the campaign goals for the quarter. And that's the third piece of context that we really bring in to our AI platform. And so once you have these things, when high touch agents, you have a platform where marketers can go in and they can actually get a much better experience than ChatGPT when using it for marketing tasks, right? They can
Yeah.
use as a baseline. They can ask it for feedback on a creative, and it actually starts looking at similar ads performance. They can ask it for ideas on a campaign, and it thinks about what you've done in the past, your brand guidelines, what works for you, your customer data, etc. But the next thing that we're doing is actually building agentic workflows and sets of little agents that can help marketing teams do specific tasks. So examples are like ad reporting, looking for creative fatigue, which just means your ad's been in the
Yeah.
market before, it worked for a while, it's not really working as well anymore, to reach too much of the target audience. Um, and then similar on the lifecycle marketing and email side, as well as, engines to do things like generate emails, like code HTML ready emails and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, first and foremost, it's this foundational platform, but then we're going to every discipline of the marketing team and building agents specifically for them, that are customizable for each and every company as well.
What does that mean by customization? Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I would say the other big difference between when I look at the SMB and like mid-market AI opportunities and the enterprise ones is there's a lot of companies out there just saying like we'll be your ad agency using an AI tool, or we'll help you generate like creative, run it on Facebook, test it, create more, etc. And if I was running like a super small business, I would probably be pretty interested in that.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely. Yeah.
I'd be interested in like features from Facebook that use generative AI and generate the ads for me. But at an enterprise scale, you look at all the tasks that go into launching a marketing campaign. There's like 50 things. They
It's a
use an
big thing.
agency for this, an agency for that. one team does this, one team does that, and people
I've
do
seen the
things
QA
like,
lists alone. Those will want to make those will kill you.
yeah, those alone can have 50 things. And these tasks, whether it's like legal approval information or brand guidelines or the strategy document that we write that has to get signed off by stakeholders, the experiment design of any marketing campaign, making sure it meets a certain opportunity side, like all of these things um, are very custom to a company. And so you can't really just go to an enterprise and be like, "We're gonna be your agency," and just do all your marketing. And so basically customizability is super important. Like we can build a base agent that can do things like build a weekly ad report on all your ads and the performance, but then you might wanna tweak that. Or maybe you're a company like, I'll just use a hypothetical example like Home Depot or 7-Eleven that also runs an advertising agency for brands that you work with to advertise on your website, and you wanna give the brands that are advertising on your website reports on how their ads are performing, right? There's all these nuances that are specific to each business, and so the customizability element is really important.
You mentioned something earlier about reporting. Okay, I think reporting was something that I remember was really big deal. Prior, I really liked the manner in which when I had a good report that I was putting out to clients, it really felt like it made the experience better. You mentioned reporting there. I did feel like, honestly, though, a lot of the dashboards that you could make in like something like Google Data Studio, or I used Datorama for a while, which I would not recommend anyone use. But I'm curious, kind of from your perspective, what is the state of marketing analytics in general with paid ads, and how do you kind of help out with that and reporting? Because reporting used to be the worst time suck that I felt like was practically just, I don't know, it felt like a waste of time, to be honest. Clients didn't read those things, but tell me a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Today, a lot of reporting when it comes to marketing analytics looks like a huge slideshow of like 5 tables, a bunch of data with a bunch of ad names on it that don't make any sense. There's just tons of underscores. And it's a mess, right? It expects that looking at a screen of data gives you insights that you need. And so we've had BI tools and analytics tools forever now, right? Tableau, Power BI, Looker, whatever it is, but they're all focused on presenting data when ultimately marketers or business people, they don't want data. They want insights and they want actual suggestions of what to do. And so um, it wasn't my first intuition when ChatGPT came out a few years ago, but later after the reasoning models came out and after spending more time with the solution, um, I realized that like AI was going to fundamentally change all of data analytics because we finally have a technology that can actually interpret the data versus just present it. And so what we're seeing is that today, a marketer might on a Monday spend hours and hours and hours just going to different systems, pulling down tables of data, putting it into different Google Doc templates for their to report to their team, to different audiences or different spreadsheets. And that might just take the day. And then they get to start answering questions like, why did this metric go down? Why did this metric go up? But a lot of times it's like seasonality or it's noise
Oh
or
boy.
it's gonna go back next week, or other times there's the 10% of time or 5% of time, there's actually an insight there, which is like you need to make new creative. Your creative's not working anymore. Or your competitors start bidding on this same keyword you're bidding on Google and it's getting more expensive and you should move your budget. But 95% of the time, there's a lot of noise and just a lot of data to stare at. And so now what we're seeing companies do with Hightouch agents is actually um, create a custom agent in our app that does their reporting in the way they want. And it can actually, we've taught the agents to know how to interpret ad metrics, how to tell if like patterns are, noise or signal, or what to check. For example, check year over year trends, check current week versus 4-week average, um, like look for at least this percent delta, like stuff like that. And so
Mm.
now instead of actually digging through, just a bunch of data and everyone in the room in a marketing planning meeting or weekly business review just acts like, I get this," but, no one's really able to process all the data on the screen. Now they can actually read actionable insights of, like, what they should actually care about, and spend more time thinking about next steps and true interpretation.
I think it's funny to me, like I love how you mentioned, I mean, you felt like it take like a day. I remember I had back in the day, literally Mondays were reporting days and Tuesdays to some extent. And it was so stupid. Like in retrospect, it was so silly. I really
What would
think
you
that
have done
this,
instead? What would you have done instead?
oh, dude, okay. I'm getting PTSD. There's a reason I don't work in that industry anymore. But no, so what I would do, right? So I'd go into Datarama or whatever it was, make sure that there was a week over week or bi-weekly or month over month kind of comparison, met it on the day of the week, and I would literally go through and essentially kind of templated check out, okay, what was the performance 1 week versus the difference? What was the comparison change? Try to convolutely say, oh, well, there's a conversion uptick here. There's a conversion rate uptick there. Why is that happening? And I'd use a method that was like fact, understanding, and action or something to that effect, where I would try to write out what was occurring. And a lot of it, frankly, was pattern recognition and conjecture. Like in order to get through it sometimes, because you're in busy season, it's like, okay, I know the client's not going to read this stuff. Unless it's like really insightful. And the problem is I feel like you end up getting put into this weird cycle that it isn't insightful. And if they do read it, they end up asking you a very specific question. And then you have to go into that specific question and spend a lot of your day on it. And I do have one interesting comment here and question. What would you say about the ability for a client or the marketing manager to answer the questions of clients about reporting? Like, do you guys have the ability to like an LLM would like access the data and get the answers to the questions in a quicker manner? Because I feel like that would have been such a hack for me.
Exactly. I mean, that is the whole platform. So
That's so
imagine it as
ridiculous.
ChatGPT that knows how to interpret marketing. So that means reporting, marketing analytics, attribution, customer segmentation, all that kind of stuff with the full context of everything you need. So all the campaign data, we're downloading CSVs from all these platforms, your data warehouse, which has your purchase data and transactions and everything, your brand information, your strategy docs, your quarterly goals. And now you don't have to spend all the time pulling the data down. You can also get a first passive interpretation and do all those cuts of the data that you had to do manually in Datarama before, and then actually start to get suggestions of what you might want to do next. And yeah, that might not be exactly what you do, but it's a great starting point, and it
I'm
saves you at least
jealous.
1 day per 5-day week of a typical B2C marketer.
2021, 2022, 2023, Dimitri is kicking himself right now. He's like, what? Couldn't I have just graduated a little later? This is ridiculous. Okay, so I love that for you. That's awesome. And how do you kind of articulate to, I mean, it's very obvious to me, but how do you kind of go about spreading the word on this and saying to clients like, or potential clients like, hey, this is a big bottleneck. This is a problem, right? Like what you guys are doing. And how do you articulate the value you provide? And I guess what would you be your go-to way to frame like this is the new way to do things? Because I know personally, speaking from experience again, a lot of companies can be set in their ways in any industry, but in that industry specifically, I felt like there was always like interest in internal innovation more than interest in like taking on vendors and stuff. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are very scarred from marketing technology solutions that make
Sure.
big promises and don't deliver. And I think we've seen this in the customer data space and personalization space, which is where our core product is. We've seen it from, different, email tools you might buy that say they're going to make your whole email program better and stuff like that. But in the end of the day, like you've got to tell it exactly what to do. So it's you that's making your email program better. We've seen it from marketing analytics vendors, that again, pre-AI, it wasn't really possible to have solutions that truly interpret the data properly. And so that's why there is a lot of churn from average, marketing technology tools. People switch it around all the time. There's a lot of failed promises. We're really happy at Hightouch that we have, exceptional retention metrics. Um, you know, like mid 90+% of our customers renew every year. And um, that is something that's like super, super important to us. And so the main thing that we've found is just because of all the scars companies have from trying tools that didn't really deliver, you've just got to make it easy to try. And so
And
s-
yeah. Sorry, I
when
had
you
a
think
follow
about,
up based on
oh yeah,
that. I
go for it.
apologize. It kind of fits into the line of questioning. I would say my main concern if I was a company actually wouldn't even be that. Honestly, I think the reporting makes the most sense, right? It's something that I could tangibly see. How do you really um across all of the different components of something
Of
make
marketing.
creative consistently iterative, right? So you have the copy, we have the actual like technical media assets, and then his follow-up question is, when it comes to media assets, like what kind of ones do you make? Do you make like general images, HTML5s? Like what's kind of the level of capability there? It's just kind of curious.
Yeah. So right now, if you think about all the steps in a marketing process, like end to end that a marketing team does, there's like research, planning campaigns, actually writing the briefs, creating the assets, getting approval, um, designing experiments, launching everything, measuring the results, etc. We excel, in my opinion, at the areas other than content creation. And so, we connect to all the data sources across the company. We help you plan and strategize what's the next content you should create. We analyze your customer data and suggest campaigns that you can run that would be really high ROI. We can look at ad performance and see what's working, what's not, and help you create more winning ads. Um, and again, across every channel on the digital marketing side. So not just ads, but emails, push notifications, website experiences, creating content, or we're working on. We're building a content creation kind of studio with AI, starting with some of the simpler assets like emails, and really taking an approach of having AI connected to all the repositories of existing content you have. So whether that's scraping all this stuff from your website, looking at all the past emails, looking at Dropbox folders of images that you give it, and help giving AI the ability to reuse those assets and make slight modifications is really the approach we're taking overall. But yeah, what we've realized is that there's so much other work that happens in marketing teams outside of just the creation of the asset. Like, 90% of the time of marketers is spent in meetings and planning and Google Docs and spreadsheets, writing briefs to send to agencies that create the assets. And there's a very small team that actually focuses on the asset creation. And so our goal over time is to build, cursor for the entire marketing process. But we really excel in all those like data and strategy kind of elements right now.
Okay. Well, that's still very valuable too. I think it's there's a lot of different aspects, and I appreciate you kind of laying that out for everybody, because honestly, I don't I don't want to miss any opportunities here of highlighting what you guys do well. So another thing that I noticed that I think is always interesting, um, in regards to audience, or in, marketing is audience, right? Audience segmentation, audience targeting, right? How does your AI really help in regards to segmentation? Because I know with strategy, it kind of comes into a position sometimes where you're like, oh, I think I should target this group of people, whether it be by age, gender, buyer intent, all these different things. What are the different ways that you can break things down, and how does your AI help analyze the different metrics that exist in current campaigns, or help you start from scratch, right? Because I think this is the biggest like black box portion of what to do with marketing.
Yeah. Um, what I see marketers having to do today is a lot of context switching, right? They go from one task of promoting, their existing product line, and then next week they're in charge of promoting a new product line that's being launched. The week after, they're trying to promote a credit card. If they're, and it's context switching and context switching and context switching. And each time they go to a new context, um, there's a lot of thought that has to happen. Like, it's not just what's the marketing message, but who should I reach out to? And that's the audience element that you brought up. So with the audiencing, we actually connect to all the customer data that companies have. And so if you're a retailer and you want to ask the AI a question like, suggest me audiences for promoting my lipstick product as an example, it'll actually go through, look through your data warehouse, both build a bunch of it's given that we have LLMs now, it actually like can do like research and think about like what's semantically associated with lipstick. Maybe it's people who are into more fashion products, stuff like that. Build and test those hypotheses against your actual data set in your data warehouse. So generate SQL queries, et cetera, against your data warehouse, also run predictive models. So one thing we built as tools for our AI platform is like actually the ability to run predictive models against the data in your data warehouse and see what are the characteristics in your data warehouse that indicate that a customer might be interested in a lipstick product. And does that vary for different age ranges or past products people have bought, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so basically, when you ask it a question like suggesting audiences, that's one workflow that we've really designed the product around since our core product's all about personalization. And it'll actually do similar work that analytics teams and data science teams do to figure out what might be the right audience to run a campaign against to promote a new product, for example. And then what's really cool is because it's interactive, and it's an AI solution that's always on versus an analytics team that you might only hear back from in a week later, um, because they're so busy with other tasks. You can actually just chat back with it to ask follow-up questions as well. So, for example, you could be like, "Hey, and tell me if I send an email blast to these customers, what percentage of them will actually open it or click a link in it? Or if I want to reach at least 100,000, how many times should I send it? And are there certain days that are best, et cetera?" And so you can start with sort of interactive chat and just ask it for things like audience suggestions. But we've also built a whole sort of module that's around planning out a campaign and helping write the strategy brief for a campaign that does audiencing as a part of it as well.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that gives me a pretty good explanation. And, um, speaking forward with that, obviously there's a lot of different types of customers that you work with, a lot of different industries that you work with. What would you say is some of the favorite industries that you guys work with? Obviously, retail is always big with digital marketing. I see that on your website. What would you say is the main ones that you're really excited about and some cool stories you have to share there?
Yeah, it's really the top B2C direct to consumer industries. So
Hmm.
we're quite fragmented actually. We do a lot in retail, financial services, um, a lot of the neo financial service apps that you all probably use are customers of Hightouch. Also media companies, so, streaming providers where you can watch TV and stuff like that. Gas stations, you kinda name it, it's all over the place. Hotel
Hmm.
chains, airlines. And so overall, it's really any company that has a direct contact with their customer and is trying to use digital marketing as, like, a really big channel to drive them to interact with their business.
Yeah.
And in terms of customer stories, I think what's really interesting is our work um, with a financial services company in the US, pretty large financial service company. And basically, prior to using our AI solution, they were always bottlenecked on their data team. As an example, on the lifecycle marketing and growth side, where they're planning different campaigns their customers base, they were always bottlenecked on their data team to be able to answer questions around how many customers will actually respond to an email in this demographic, or what customers would be most likely to buy my premium subscription, or like look at all the marketing that I'm running to drive people to the premium description subscription, which customer types are actually not engaging with that, and what tactics in my the rest of my marketing do they engage with. They just like tried a lot of data driven stuff to drive conversions because when you think about financial services, like any conversion to a new offering is just worth so much, right? The LTV is so high. And so they're pretty bottlenecked on like data science and data analytics resources to answer all these questions. And now like the marketers are actually logging in like pretty much every day or every other day, and to using the tool to strategize the next campaigns and experiments that they run. The other example that I think is really compelling is is that the advertising team there, for example, is trying to reduce their reliance on agencies. So previously they used an agency for a lot of their media management, but now they're moving that in-house. And as they move it in-house, the typical model is that you have a person working on every single channel. And then like Google, someone dedicated to Google, someone dedicated to Facebook, someone dedicated to search ads for a particular business unit or product that you're selling. And that person's like always looking at the ad account and trying to figure out what are the trends, like which kind of creative are working better. Where should I put more budget, especially when you're operating on 5, 10 different marketing channels and social media kind of providers. And now what we're seeing is two things. One, those people are actually able to spend more time, like actually, writing briefs, coming up with the next creative, et cetera, to run instead of analyzing the account every day, because the AI will just tell them when there's actually changes they need to care about. And then two, um, there is a whole world of cross-channel learnings that were kind of being lost before, of like,
Yeah.
"Hey, this thing in Facebook's actually really working, and you're not doing it in Google." Um, or in other word, "Hey, there's actually something in Google that really works that doesn't work in Facebook. You've tried it a bunch of times, so next time you're trying to advertise this product, do it in Google instead." As a first suggestion of where you put budget. And so it's both efficiency of just like less hours to do the same thing, as well as finding more opportunities that you wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
Nice. I gotta say, it's very impactful. What it seems like you guys are doing, to the point where it's like, okay, I have tangibly heard so many different ways that you're saving marketers time. Obviously, I think from a standpoint of how it probably works on your pricing, you're saving even money in some sense. And just to kind of touch on marketing in general, the industry in general, um, how do you feel like these types of products like yourself are going to start impacting jobs in the marketing industry, right? Obviously, in a positive standpoint, you're probably saving, I would say, companies like all this precious, like valuable time. There's a couple of different camps people fall into, like, oh, this is going to make it so that we're going to have less jobs. That's one camp. Another camp is, I feel like this is going to make people's jobs more in depth and less nonsense work. Give me your take on where you think not only your company, but other companies in the industry and agents are going to kind of impact things.
Yeah, from my perspective, what I see from having worked with thousands of, marketing teams at large scale companies now, or and at least talk to them, is that um, they're all super slammed. Like, candidly, they're all just super busy,
Absolutely. They're super busy. Yeah.
super overwhelmed. And the same is true for a lot of the partners and consultants and agencies that they work with. Um, and and I think there's also a lot of, frankly, inefficiencies in the program due to how busy and siloed everyone is, right? There's a person who's operating the Google channel or the Facebook channel that's super busy and again can't look for those cross-channel opportunities. Um, or is so busy looking at all these ads that they missed a really stable ad that's starting to not perform, that if you made a new creative for faster, would help you hit your next quarter's number. And so, honestly, I would say everyone's super busy from what I can tell in marketing teams at large companies.
You saw
And
my you saw my reaction. I did not like what was going on.
fair enough. And everyone is like, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of both wastage due to not having like the data at your fingertips and the insights that you need, and just missed opportunities. And so, yes, I believe like some of the more monotonous tasks will be removed from marketers' plates, right? Like I think AI is going to be taking a first pass of reporting. If in a year from now, or even sooner, in my opinion, that your marketing team is like not using AI for reporting on metrics, it's just kind of crazy. right? That's the first place we start because it's easy to prove and it works really well. And but at the same time, I actually think there's opportunity to not just take that work off the plate, but actually make the marketing programs, like, frankly, 30% better at an average large enterprise that's spending
Wow.
tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, on advertising. And I'm not, I'm also thinking about all the rest of the marketing programs that they're doing on the digital side. And so, honestly, I don't think there's gonna be a huge labor market change in marketing soon. I think the teams will actually just start outputting a lot more, and spending less time on monotonous work. The area that I think is TBD is like creative, as the creative models get better and better and better, and especially creative agency side of the equation. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of work to go on the creative models, and taste is again the hardest thing for AI to replicate. And so, I could, maybe the variations, maybe stuff like that, but I don't think people are gonna, like, completely, remove a creative team anytime soon, frankly. So,
Yeah. Okay. No, that's
okay.
fair. I mean, it's a really hard kind of like place to balance being like, oh, we're gonna save you a lot of this time and money, and it's like, and
Yeah.
what does the implicate? Everyone kind of tries to make their own logical entailments from that, but
I think the way I
um,
think about it is, like, large companies wanna drive more top line, like, they wanna drive more revenue, and I see huge opportunities to actually do that, with the same budgets they have today, or to make the whole program more efficient on the actual spend side. Like, when you look at any marketing organization, it's 80% spend and 20% people, frankly, like program spend, right? And so, in the B2C side. And so I think that the opportunity for companies is really to improve the efficiency of their spend and the impact from it.
yeah, no, absolutely. Are there any other kind of things? Well, actually, the one last thing I like to ask always, as we kind of wrap things up is obviously you have your own product, really cool. You got your opinions about what's going on and AI in general. Obviously, you said you enjoyed ChatGPT when it came out. What is your favorite personal AI tool that you're using just for yourself, right? Whether it be in work or in business, that you're like, yeah, this saves me tons of hours. Love it. It's the best.
The best, I guess the more, hidden hack, I guess, I mean, unless you're a pro, I think that I've learned, recently from some of our product and engineering team here is using Cursor for general AI tasks.
I keep hearing this. And what do
So,
you do personally with it
yeah,
on a daily basis?
everyone of course, like, everyone uses Cursor if they're programming or if they're coding. Unfortunately, I'm not doing that all the time anymore. Used to be my job, would love to have Cursor back then, but not doing that all the time anymore, as the business has been scaling. But Cursor, as well as Claude Code, actually have really good agentic planning. So what that means is you
Yeah, it
can
does.
do a big task, right? This is very important if you're using it to code whole features and stuff like that. You put in a big task, and it'll break it down. It'll manage a to-do list. As an agent, right? It'll actually save a to-do list of tasks it needs to do to the file system and keep checking its progress and doing them. And so it just doesn't lose track of things. And so you can use it for really big tasks like look through, deep research type tasks, right? Like look through all of these list of companies I have and find all the roles responsible for X, Y, and Z and caveat it to me when it doesn't feel like they may actually own that, but it's the closest title you could find, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the same way that they do the context management to be able to generate like large pieces of software, right? In the agent mode of Cursor or Cloud Code. And so I think it's a very powerful hack. When you have complex tasks you want to delegate to an AI, the Gen 1, LLM way of thinking about this was like, let's go just always build an agent, right? And chain prompts together with a tool like Zapier or n8n or something like that. But now while that still makes a lot of sense, obviously, what I'm finding is like when you just have an interactive complex use case, you don't need automation. You can just put it into a software like Claude Code or Cursor that has really strong agentic planning and it'll break down the tasks and figure it out. And so it's actually one of the reasons that we have actually like played with using Claude Code as the backend of our Hightouch Agents product, um, and replicating also some of the agent loop and stuff it does for other models as well. So I think it's
Wow. That's, I think that's really good insight. I've heard such great things about, I've used Cloud Code for some mass, marketing planning before. It's something people really need to look into. So great, great commentary there. And last but not least, I would just say to everyone listening, thank you so much for listening and watching. But what you need to do right now is go to hightouch.com if you're looking for something to help out your marketing needs and prove it with their amazing AI tools. So that being said, thank you so much, Tejas, to you for being on the show. We appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like, comments, even for you, Tejas, if you want to get more listens on the show, leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. The old 5 stars will do just fine, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.